Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with Martial Arts Today Television, and I've got to tell you, I'm really psyched about. We've had part one of a wonderful interview with Vincent Cecere, and now we're going to talk more about his life and career. And we're here at his dojo in California. Now, I'm very honored to be here, and very honored to be with him, and we're going to talk a little bit about this man's incredible life and career. And great to have you back on the show. And we want to talk about last session. We talked about your jujitsu influences and everyone from Temiru Jiu-Jitsu to Moses Powell to Professor V. What I wanted to talk about today, I wanted to talk about your film career and your comedy career and your new book and all these wonderful things that we didn't really get a chance to touch upon, and also the training that you pass on to your students in regards to that. So the first question we have, again, I know you not only through your martial arts career, but your film career and your acting in cinema and whatnot. Tell me how you got involved in acting.
I think an actor always knows that he's an actor as soon as you come out. The same way a warrior knows he's a warrior. You may not know anything yet, but inside the warrior is already there. It's a path that you've chosen. And my very first thing I did, I was a dancer. I had a dream of going to New York and getting in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and then being an actor, and then going through the whole, all the way up and earning my stripes the way I had to do it. And I was 17 years old when my sister, I guess 16 I must have been, because 17 I moved back to New York. I went New York, Florida, and back to New York for acting school. But when I went back to New York, my sister put me in a contest, a talent contest, of which I won first place for dance. Wow. And that got me a part as an extra on a movie called Porky's.
Oh my gosh!
So the very first film I ever did was as an extra in Porky's at the high school, with the Miami Beach High School, whatever it was. And then I got called back to be in the next one, Porky's 2 the next day, Porky's Revenge, and I played the valet attendant that takes Khaki Hunter, when she's got the fake, out of the Excalibur, and then walk her in the front door of the Hollywood Beach Hotel. That's me at like 18 years old, taking her out. I look at it, I got the head of hair, man.
Wow! Now I've got to go back and look. My gosh.
Yeah. And then I did right from there I did A Night in Heaven with Chris Atkins. Then I did Beach Street in New York City with Harry Belafonte. I was a break dancer in that. Then I did, I was an extra on Invasion USA in Florida, and these were all these little things that got me moving up. And then I remember I landed something on Channel 10 in Florida called, Jimmy Cephalo was a great football player, wide receiver for Miami Dolphins. Jimmy was well-liked, very well-read, good-looking guy, great for television. They made him executive sports director of WPLJ Channel 10 in Miami. They gave him his own show called Sports Jam Live. Well, they thought that the regular guy would be able to connect with a guy like Jimmy, so they wanted two regular schmucks to come out of the woodwork every once in a while and grab Jimmy like he's just one of us. So we started that, and I ended up, from our first commercial went so well, where we roughed him up, I had a 6-year run on Channel 10, a 6-year campaign doing Jimmy. I got tons of video. We opened the Cramden Park Tennis Center. I walked live up to Peter Sempris and Pam Shriver, right as they're doing their interview, right as they're about to, they won whatever the award is. I don't even know anything about tennis. Only thing I know about tennis is I used a racket once to crack a guy in the head. That's what I know about tennis. But we opened up the Homestead Speedway, the Speedway. The very first car to drive on the Homestead Speedway was my dad's old crappy station wagon, and we stuck Jimmy in the back, and he had a sticker on the back of it. This thing was held together by rust, you hear me? The rust was the only thing keeping the car together. On the back it had a sticker that said, "Don't laugh, it's paid for." And I got Jimmy stuffed in the trunk. So I was always getting those kind of roles, and then I booked a couple of good ones. I hit a long ball with Analyze This. Harold Ramis gave me my shot to work with Robert De Niro and Billy Crystal. That one went very well for me. Then Michael Diner gave me a shot on The Crew with Burt Reynolds. I was the guy that was making fun of oh my God, he says The lead in that was Richard Dreyfuss.
Ah,
Dreyfuss.
okay.
And they freeze on my face. If you watch the movie The Crew, you'll see where he goes, this is the way everybody got their name. And then he goes, and the way I got my name was, they tried to give me a name once, and it's me walking by reading the newspapers, a newspaper stand, and I go, hey, it's Bobby the Jew. And then he throws this Cadillac into reverse, this convertible, tries to run me over. And it was one of my first stunts. I dived through the stand, and then he skids up to it. But when I dove through, they froze on my face. So if you watch the movie for 10 seconds, it's a super close-up of my eyes, and I'm like this. 10 seconds in the movie. It's incredible.
Wow.
Right? 10
You
seconds.
bet. That's a lifetime in the film.
And then
Wow.
after that was The Crew. Then I got a shot on Palmetto. They gave me a shot with Woody Harrelson. I did Palmetto and just kept banging films. And any Italian role that came down, commercial-wise, I hit it out of the park. I did a lot of live theater. Tony and Tina's Wedding. I was the best man in that. I did some other interactive shows. I did murder mysteries, interactive, Cafe Noir, 1, 2, Noir Suspicions. These things ran for years and years and years. So simultaneously, I'm making a living as an actor, you know, between stage and movies and commercials.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, while we're talking about it, and of course, in case you haven't noticed, let's talk about your comedic career.
Okay. Oh, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I want to say rest in peace to my buddy Jimmy Kahn. Hey, Jimmy. Jimmy, I got on Las Vegas because of Jimmy. I appreciate and he gave me a lot of great advice, and he was a friend of our friends, and he was always a good guy. And, you know, we just lost him like 2 weeks ago, and I just want to say Jimmy was one of Emil Fargus' students.
Oh, I knew about Takubota, but I
He
didn't know
worked
you
out on
practiced.
that bag, Jimmy.
Come on.
I'm telling you,
wow.
what a world this is.
Wow, what a small world in the martial arts.
God does not waste time.
There you go. Amen to that. Wow.
Okay, so talk about the comedic career.
Yes. How did you get involved in being
Comedy is another thing like being a warrior. You either have it or you don't. And now, the desire to be a stand-up and to be up on that stage, I don't know where that came from, but always being on stage is where I was comfortable. I had no problems with it. And I never ran out of words. I was a great improv guy. So, and I'm not afraid to be quiet. In other words, people are afraid of the silence on stage. You should embrace silence on stage. When you have silence on stage, most people are saying, oh my God, I got to come up with something, say something funny, I'm funny, right? Other people are sucking you in with the silence. And then they hit you from left field. So don't be afraid of the silence. But as I did, you know, comedy all over Florida and the East Coast, I never was a professional at it. And then I came out here and I went to the Comedy Store, which is like going to the Jet Center and you're just getting your black belt and you decide, I'm going to go to Jet Center and jump in with those guys and see how I swim. Right? That's about the same, you know, thing.
Wow.
So and then, you know, there's a story in my book about it, you read it, with Damon Wayans and how he was there and Mitzi had him waiting.
Oh, right.
I didn't know anybody there. All as I knew is all my life I knew if you got to the Comedy Store and you can get up on that stage and you had something, you'd get seen, somebody would recognize the talent is how I believed it works. So all as I said was, and listen, in my book you'll see it's a spiritual journey, my book of Vinny, it's got nothing to do with martial arts. Martial artists are big spiritual guys, whether you don't know it or not. But depending on the methodology of their spirituality, that's all different. But at the end of the day, we believe in something greater than ourselves that guides us towards what we need to do in our life and where we need to be. There is no wasted time and no coincidence if you're following a certain methodology of life, which is how I perceive my time in this place, in this time, in this dimension, however you want to cut it. I believe we're put where we need to be. And if, like a cork on a river, going down river, you could fight it all day long. Guess what? You're still going to end up down the river. There's no way you're not going to end up down the river. You're just going to hit a lot of rocks on the way because you're fighting the current. But at the end of the day, you end up down there tired. Or you go with the flow and realize, oh, this is where I'm going. This is where my life force is. This is where my talent comes. I found that on stage. So then, next is, do you have the guts to do what it takes to get on the stage with guys like Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, George Lopez, Joe Rogan. These guys are who's on stage in front of you. Damon Wayans is about to do his show on My Wife and Kids. He's sitting there waiting to get stage time. This is Damon Wayans. He's sitting at the booth waiting at Mitzi's chair in the back on a Sunday night when The Sopranos were on. Mitzi never came to the Comedy Store before 10 o'clock Sunday night as long as The Sopranos ran. Because she loved the Italians, she loved the Northeast. That's how Dice made his career. She's the one that made Dice. So Mitzi would always come in at 10 o'clock. I got there like 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and I want to get up on that open mic thing so that somebody can just see me for 30 seconds or whatever. At the end of the day, I go in, somebody knew somebody there, they called my friend, they got me in the Comedy Store. Once I got in, you're on your own. Now figure out a way to get on stage. I saw Damon sitting there, and I'm not intimidated. I'm going to go up and ask him, hey, can give me some tips, you know what I mean? You was nobody at one time before, come on. So he said to me, no, you got to wait, you got to put your name in a hat and the thing. And he explained this thing that could take you months if you ever get a shot at all. And I said to him, that doesn't sound right. I said, the way I think is that we could never get a shot. And he said, why do you think I'm sitting here waiting on this woman to give me 5 minutes of stage time? Because that's how hard it is to get on that stage. He goes, it's not that easy, even for me. So I was like, really? And he goes, yeah. So I go, okay, thank you. I said, but there's got to be another way. I'm from New York. I never waited that long for anything. And he said, no, that's the only way. I said, okay. So now, listen, you're on the hunt, right? You're on Seek and Destroy now. I'm watching the room. I watch the way they host, and the guy who's hosting that night is Bobby Lee from Mad TV, Crazy Bobby, and he is high and drunk out of his mind running the Sunday night show. He's calling guys up, going up there, jumping on stage, being crazy, coming back off the stage. So I notice every time a guy goes over there, Bobby comes, talks to him, and then goes up there and comes here, gets that guy, puts him on stage. So evidently that's the deck. I see a guy over there stands up next. I walk over to him and I go, you got to sit down. He told me I'm next. Just like that. He goes, no, man, hey. You know that guy in the booth over there? That booth? He goes, yeah. Isn't that the booking booth? He goes, yeah. That guy told me to tell you to sit down and that you're going after me. You got something to say, go talk to him. I didn't know that shit happens all the time. I just took a shot. Right? He goes, okay, I'll go next. He sits down.
Bing!
Wait. Then the realization, you're next. Wait a minute. I didn't mean it. Imagine it's like punching a big guy in the face and he doesn't move. You're like, I didn't mean it, man. I didn't mean it. So now,
and this is why the show's fun, ladies and gentlemen. So come on.
So now I'm right there and I go, okay, I'm on deck, but that doesn't mean anything. This guy's still got to put me on stage. I can't just walk up there. So he walks over, and I told you, he's so high out of his mind. He's like this. He goes, hey, where's the other guy? I go, no, it's my turn next. They told me to sit down and tell you to tell me that next. He goes, no, I don't know. Hey. He goes, oh, relax. I said, don't tell me to relax. My name's Vinny from the Bronx. They told me to be, they got me sitting around here waiting for you. No, it's okay. No. Cool out. This is a Comedy Store. Just tell me your name again. Vinny from the Bronx. All you got to tell him, Vinny from the, okay, chill. Bobby goes up on stage. Remember, this is not Disney TV, so I could tell you the true story.
You bet.
Bobby gets on stage and goes like this. And the first time I was introduced to a Los Angeles audience in comedy at the Comedy Store. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know who this next motherfucker is. But he walked up and said, my name is Vinny, and I'm going next. And he's a big motherfucker. So you know what? He's going next. And if he ain't funny, y'all tell him. Well, you may not want to tell him, but if you might think about laughing because he's a big motherfucker. And then Bobby comes off the stage, ladies and gentlemen, Vinny from the Bronx. And I go up there and I look and I just stand there for a minute. People are like, how can a guy that looks like that be funny? That's what they think. There's no way that guy could be funny. He looks like he wants to eat your car. I'm standing there. And the first thing I do is go like this. Hey, Damon! He looks up and I go, like this? And Damon Wayne's head almost popped off.
Off his head.
Because he's over there. So you tell me that God didn't have his hand in that? That I
you
could pull
bet.
that maneuver on my own? There's no way. But he provided a doorway for you to step in. If you don't got the guts to play the hand all the way, don't open up the ball. You got to go all the way. And now, to make it one scene better, right? I'm up on stage, and I'm just being me. I'm like, guys, how you doing? I'm really not a comedian. I'm just here because I had nothing better to do. And I felt like talking to you people. Not that anybody else would like to talk to you people. Look at you people. So you know, I got, and now they start giggling when we start cutting in. I don't even got an act. I'm just talking to them. Mitzi Shore comes walking in with the showcase manager, Tommy, the manager at the time of the Comedy Store. She sees me on stage doing just me, and she goes, "Oh my God, I love him. He's so funny. Tommy, make him a regular."
Wow.
She passed me on my first time on stage in the Comedy Store.
Wow.
That doesn't happen. It never happens.
Oh my God.
It happened to me. Wow. So, when I tell you in the book, when you read these stories, how can I have so many of these moments in my lifetime if there's nothing to it? What am I, just the luckiest guy in the world? I just happen to be in the right place? Whether it's New York or Florida or LA, you just happen to be there? Nobody has that kind of luck or that kind of coincidence. It just, you have something to do in your life. You definitely have a task.
Well, the key ingredients, since that time, you've documented so many of these experiences, and let's grab the book.
In my book of Vinnyisms.
It's not a schism when it's a Vinnyism. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. So talk to me about the creation of the book. How did it all come together?
Michael Matsuda, who's from the Martial Arts History Museum, curator and creator,
Sure.
and very dear friend, and is very good friends with Joe Mantegna as well. Joe's our very dear friend. In my book, the preface was done by Joe.
Incredible.
For me. And Michael said to me, I was telling him these stories one day, and Michael says to me, you know, you should write a book. I said, Michael, I should write a book. Would I look like a guy that sits around writing a book? And he goes, look, all you got to do is talk. You just get up there and you're talking to the camera, and then we have the Dragon program, and they'll do the whole thing. I want to do this for you through the museum. Your stories are hilarious. Some people should know about it. So the story about this is in there that we just talked about at the Comedy Store. But at the end of the day, I want to go one more step just to put the caveat on the Comedy Store story.
Okay.
When you get passed by Mitzi, you get your name put up on the Comedy Store wall. If you drive past the Comedy Store, I'll show you my name on the wall. Show it to you. When you go there, every celebrity's name is still there. Richard Pryor, this one, that one, everybody.
Yeah.
I go, and my friend Steve Simone, who's real good friends with Joe Rogan, he travels all over. Steve Simone says to me, I just stopped in the Comedy Store one day. This is like months and months later. And I just stop in the store and there's Stevie. And I said, Stevie, what are you doing? He goes, I'm here because they're putting a new bunch of names on the wall. I said, what are you talking about? He says, for years, nobody got their name on the wall, remember? Because there was nobody doing it and they didn't put it up. Now there's a whole group of new people names going up on the wall from the last 10 years or whatever. And I said, yeah. I said, what about me? My name was never up on the wall. He says, they never put your name on? He says, no. He says, come on. He walks me in and right as they're doing the list. If I'm not there right then, I don't get on the wall. I hadn't been there in months. I just popped in there for 5 minutes to say hello to people, and I catch it. And what I'm trying to say, everybody's had these experiences, but not nobody and not everybody, because I haven't met everybody and I don't know nobody. So, but somewhere in between there, human beings have a human experience, and many of our experiences are exactly the same. The similarities of those experiences which are not of this world. There's more there than we really can see and know going on. And I think in our life, we journey towards trying to understand that. And I don't think we ever get there in one lifetime.
You know, there's a wonderful phrase but when we were together at the Action Martial Arts event recently, and I had an incredible opportunity show up, which was being the MC for the Hall of Honors event.
It was great.
I worked for the trade show, and Unfortunately, Michael Di Pasquale was injured, and they had another person, but he got stuck in the snowstorm in New York. So they're like, and it's funny because nobody tells me. At least not Alan. The other people going, oh, I hear you're going to be at the Hall of Honors tonight doing the MC today. Congratulations. Oh, I hear you're going to knock it out of the ballpark doing it. After the 14th person walked up to me, I walk up to Alan and go, I think maybe there's something you might want to tell me. You know, and he goes,
I remember we talked and,
right?
You had the papers in your hand and you go, this guy just drew all this on me. And I said, you were so,
I'm like,
I said,
okay.
you're going to do great. You did great though.
Yeah,
you did as great as Michael ever did.
I'll tell you, and you know, the greatest compliments that I got during the whole thing, and you know, was I was actually next to Stephen Hayes. We brought Ninja to America.
Great.
So we're about halfway through it, and Stephen Hayes looks at me and goes, Joe, this is incredible. I said, oh, yeah. No, Joe, you're incredible. I've watched you pronounce everyone's name correctly. Not a thing. And it's like, well, how do you do this? I say, I speak 7 languages. He's like, you what? He said, besides all the martial arts stuff, you speak that? Yeah, I'm half Portuguese, half Puerto Rican, so I speak English, of course, Spanish, Portuguese. I also speak some Japanese. I speak Mandarin Chinese. I also speak French because I learned that in parochial school when I was a teenager. I speak Italian, you know, grazie, prego. You know, you learn, you know, and so he's like, blew his mind, completely blew his mind. And, you know, there was a important phrase, and this is the point I'm getting to, is at one point, many times you hear at that event, people say, no egos. We have no egos here. And when I got up on that stage, I said a very important phrase. I said, look, ego is not always a negative thing. Ego is what drives us. Ego is what wants us to be better. I said, today I want you to realize that ego is an acronym. EGO, everyone's golden opportunity. And it is our drive that enables us within ourselves to achieve these moments in time because our ego knows we can do better, we can be better, and we simply know, just as we're sitting here today, that we can do whatever we set out to. And that's why I really enjoyed the book, and that's why I really enjoyed that. I wanted to share that story because it is your ego and your drive that has driven you to these accolades and these accomplishments. And it's a beautiful thing. And so again, let's show the book one more time. So again, if you want to find out more about the man, the legend, the founder of Vinnyisms, check this book out. And how can they get the book, by the way?
You can get it on Amazon. Go to Amazon, Vinny's Book of Vinnyisms. And there's a little thing that Joe Montaigne wrote on the cover to give you an idea of what the book, if you want to read that.
Quote, probably the most interesting aspect of Vince is the dichotomy that he is. He has a soft heart, but also the heart of a lion. He is one of the most gentle humans I've ever known, yet arguably one of the most dangerous as well. Joe Montaigne. Montaigne, say it correctly.
I'm guarding Joe for almost 20 years, so a long time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we hope you've had some great time with Vince and myself. I hope you've gotten some great insight into this wonderful man's life and career. And make a point of picking up that book and get some new Vinnyisms.
Oh, show the weapon.
Oh.
Got your weapon in your pocket?
We can't
go without showing the weapon, the
legacy. So again, yet another aspect of your life and career is your creation of this wonderful device. And so tell me about this.
So the name of it is a Patriot keychain, and it refers to special forces. They say, you know, the oppressor libre, to free the oppressed. And anything I ever do in the martial arts is completely to do one thing: protect the innocent and keep the bad people away. So with that in mind, after 9/11, and you saw those flight attendants killed, anyone who has any kind of combative capability and experience would have known they could have at least saved some of them lives. They didn't have to die like that. And I wanted to do something about it, that's all. So I went and found out from the FBI. I trained the FBI in the thing, and then I went and found out from the FAA what was what. I went to a local congressman. They gave me a letter. Who took me to the FBI? Who gave me a letter? Who gave me? And finally, I made it to become an aviation safety counselor here for the FAA, and I started teaching safety at the LAX, FISDO, to the World Police and stuff like that. So this particular weapon, I took off of thinking about the Japanese Yawara, not thinking about the Kubitori, the Kubiton. The Kubiton, I think, was a great idea, but a novelty idea. In other words, it's better than nothing, but if you're in a real combative situation, you're going to lose the keychain because it's held in by a little screw in wood with little itty bitty teeth. There's no way in the world under duress you're not going to keep your keys or your weapon. So you're going to lose one or the other. If the guy gets your keys and you got a Mercedes, you just lost $350. If he takes your weapon, he gives you a beating and then gets your keys for $350. So this was made so that the key ring was made out of nickel, so it's strong enough that nobody's going to be able to wrench it out. The grips were made. They went through several types of grips, but I wanted it for a smaller hand, for a female or a smaller hand. I didn't want a large hand. And I made it just long enough so that the edges would interact with the styloid process of the ulna and the radius bone, so you could do full range manipulation. With the top of this is the dull striking point, which does things like a jaw strike to disable the jaw at the hinge so that the bad guy can't call his friends. The mushroom head is used to go in the tracheal wall with a single ranger choke using your finger in double digits. Thumb goes behind the tracheal, and this goes into the other side of the trachea. Once this digs into the epithelial tissue of the trachea, you have his pulse by your other finger, and you can actually feel his heartbeat. You put your hand behind his head, which there's a famous picture of me doing it to Drake and security guys like this. The guy moves it all. You do half an inch, he gurgles out. It's all over. He's not moving on you. When a guy knows that your throat is in his life is insane, they don't move. It's not the movies. This part is guys reaching up on you. You hit them straight under the chin and knock out a point right in the jawbone. Then we have a pointier edge. Why would I use a pointier edge? Well, what happens if the guy's like, I'm from the southeast. A lot of his time was spent in Florida on the beach, here on the beach, right? So that if a guy's on the beach, he's not going to be wearing clothes, right? So you can use a dull point. When you need this is if you're in Chicago in the winter, somebody's got a down jacket on or something like that. Sure. You're not going to penetrate anything with that when they're all lathered up. But the same strike with this, it won't penetrate. I mean, I'm so sorry. It doesn't puncture, but it penetrates. Not puncture, penetration of energy. So that's what that does. It's got my symbol on the bottom of it, my AOSJ. My methodology is American Old School Jujutsu. I was underneath Dr. Powell till he died, 17 years. I have a 4th degree black belt underneath him in Sanukas, a 4th degree black belt under Dr. Chinik in Atemura Jiu-Jitsu. And the last time that I went for rank was 2007, so you decide whatever it is. and I've been teaching for now almost 30 years, and everything that we do is where the rubber meets the road. We don't do anything that's flash and carry. There's no use for that. It doesn't work. We work with military, law enforcement, combatives. We work with security professionals. It all has to be real. Okay? If somebody drops their weapon or the weapon can be taken away from you, it's absolutely obsolete. It's not going to help. So, people grabbing you, if Joe's a cross grab, it interacts. It's long enough to interact. Okay? The thing about the other ones that I saw is they're too short. If they're too short, you don't have any interaction. If they're too thin, you can't really hold them because somebody can wedge it. If they start wedging you, something thinner will make your fingers work across each other. Something thicker, your fingers don't end up manipulating against each other because you have surface space. So when do you think about these things? Not until you're in duress. You don't think about that until somebody's actually fought with it and you find out what. Same thing with the Kubitori tactics. When a guy is going to shove, we pop. That pop keeps his hand wide open, right, from swelling, and we take it, we secure, we go one finger, and now we got Kubitori. There we are. And then we got Master Pete covering its mouth laughing again like last segment we talked about. But the weapon itself, I think, is one of the greatest weapons that a person can carry on them, except you can't carry on a... The funny thing is I made it for airline industry, to protect the airline industry, taught it to TSA, taught it to the marshals, and then they put it on a hot sheet and banned it. I mean, you got to love that. So everybody knows what it is. It's a Patriot keychain. This particular one is mine. I created it. My AOSJ, American Old School Jujutsu, is my methodology, I call it, because it's really not a system. I don't believe in real... I just don't believe in anybody doing exactly the same thing as anybody else. I just think that you can teach them, read the book and throw the damn book away. Get rid of the book and find your own voice by the books that you've read. They'll influence you, they'll teach you, they'll give you your rudiments, but then you have to make it yours. You have to make it yours. You can't copy somebody else. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, by all means.
You can't copy somebody.
You have to be you.
Yes.
And expand, right? Ed Parker had a great phrase about Kenpo. He says, Kenpo is a system. And from the system, you create individual styles. What makes you, you as an individual? And that's the key. So how can they get this?
From this, they can always get this to me. They can hit me up on Facebook
Very good.
and instant message me. We can take care of it.
And let's play social media. So how they find you on Facebook?
Oh, they can always come to you. You can always
Oh,
come
I
through
get the job. See,
No, anybody that goes, I'll tell you what, anybody that goes through Joe will give it to you 50%, we'll give 50% to the Martial Arts History Museum. How's
wow,
that? How
there you
about
go.
that?
There you go.
So it'll only cost you $10 and I'll give $10 to the Martial Arts History Museum.
So
if you
please
get it through
contact
Joe.
me. It's worth it. Yeah, by all means. Check us out on YouTube and various cable systems. And we're here with the man, the legend, the darn funny individual. Vince, thank you so much for your time.
Sir, it's an honor.
And go ahead, please.
Can I?
By all means. We were talking, you wanna say?
Earlier we were in the Martial Arts History Museum and I was listening to Sensei do an interview with Michael Matsuda, and you were going through the whole museum talking about everything in there. Now I've been in the museum for years and years and years, and I just learned, listening to them film the interview, I learned more about the museum in the half an hour that they filmed than I did in 10 years of walking through there and just looking at it, because it was described by a gentleman who's a true historian. And Michael Matsuda and Joe Rebelo, both true historians. And let me tell you about something, and not to, but it needs to be said. There was a teacher we asked about a piece of wood, and the teacher said, he said, where did that wood come from, you know? And the teacher said, don't ask me that shit, I'll just show you how to fight with it. And the other teacher asked the other guy, where did this wood come from? And he went, well, it's a very good question. Back in 12 AD, an acorn fell from a tree, from a southwesterly wind, and the precipitation from the east blew it over to here, and it landed on a boat, which then went to Australia, and a tree grew, and then it came to here, it became this wood. And that's what this is. The difference is, and a lot of people can teach you to fight, but you need to know where you came from to know where you're going, and if you're a true practitioner of martial arts, you study your history. He's about history, Michael Matsuda's about history, Martial Arts History Museum, contribute to it, help him out. It's for the preservation of things that, first off, how many guys are like this that know this much? And if they're not the ones doing it, it's gone. No one will ever know the rich, wonderful history, you know? The other day I was with somebody, came out, a guy came into town, I said, holy mackerel, he walked out of the gym and I walked right into Billy Blanks.
Oh, Billy, yeah.
Right? And I said, Billy, how you doing? And I said, my friend, this is Billy Blanks. I said, Billy Blanks. And he goes, who?
Wow.
And I said, how old are you? He said, I'm 25. I said, and you don't know who Billy Blanks is? He goes, no, I never heard of him. That just goes to show you how fast your name to the next generation can be not known. You know how many guys don't know who Gene LaBelle is? When you mention Gene LaBelle, they say, no, what are you talking about? You're talking about when they think about, you know, Chuck Liddell. When you say Gene LaBelle, they think you're talking. You understand? Those men deserve that history and that respect, and they did things nobody ever did before. Not just that they were good at it. They were the first at it. They were the best at it, and they did things that nobody would do. And if that's not worth preserving, then what are we doing? As a culture, we're full of shit. Sorry.
No problem. That's what we've got beep for. Anyway, the joys of beep.
Sorry, I don't mean to preach.
No problem. No problem whatsoever. So again, thank you so much once again. It's a joy. It's a pleasure. And look up. Vince Cecere.
And you can see my Jimmy Kimmel stuff.
Rock and roll. There you go.
Yeah.
And we'll be back with more exciting action here on Martial Arts Today TV. Stay tuned.